Immigration law is a complex and often confusing field, even for those familiar with legal systems. Immigration lawyers act as guides and advocates for those seeking a new home. They help clients understand their rights and options. However, some may exploit legal loopholes for their own gain. This can have significant consequences for individuals and the system. The actions of immigration lawyers impact countless lives. It is a responsibility that should be approached with integrity and respect for the law. Legal loopholes are a natural consequence of the complexity and ever-evolving nature of legal systems. They arise from ambiguities, inconsistencies, or unintended consequences within the law that can be exploited to achieve a desired outcome. While not all loopholes are inherently unethical to use, their exploitation in the context of immigration law raises serious concerns about fairness, justice, and the integrity of the system. One common area where loopholes emerge is in the interpretation of legal definitions and criteria. For instance, the definition of persecution in the context of asylum claims can be subjective and open to interpretation, while legitimate asylum claims should be based on well-founded fears of persecution due to race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. Some lawyers may encourage their clients to embellish or fabricate their narratives to fit the criteria for asylum, exploiting the subjective nature of persecution claims. Another area ripe for exploitation is the complex web of visa categories and requirements. With numerous visa types available, each with its own specific criteria and limitations, the process of determining eligibility and navigating the application process can be incredibly complex. Some lawyers may exploit this complexity by advising their clients to apply for visas that are not appropriate for their circumstances, or by misrepresenting their qualifications to increase their chances of approval. For example, a lawyer may advise a client to apply for a student visa even if their primary intention is not to study, but to gain entry into the country with the hope of adjusting their status later. The exploitation of legal loopholes in immigration law is a serious issue with far-reaching consequences. It undermines the fairness and integrity of the system, creates opportunities for fraud and abuse, and ultimately erodes public trust in the rule of law. Addressing these loopholes requires a multifaceted approach, including legislative reform to clarify ambiguous language, increased oversight and accountability for immigration lawyers, and a commitment to ethical representation from both lawyers and their clients. The plight of asylum seekers is often fraught with danger, uncertainty, and desperation. Fleeing persecution and seeking safety in a new land, they place their trust in immigration systems to provide refuge and a chance at a new life. While the vast majority of asylum claims are legitimate, the system is not immune to exploitation. Some lawyers, driven by profit or a skewed sense of moral obligation, may advise asylum seekers to embellish or fabricate their stories, exploiting the subjective nature of persecution claims. Consider the case of an individual fleeing economic hardship in their home country. While economic hardship in itself is not grounds for asylum, a lawyer might advise this individual to embellish their story, claiming they faced persecution for their political beliefs or membership in a particular social group. They might coach them on how to present their narrative in a way that aligns with the criteria for asylum, even if the underlying reason for their flight is economic. This manipulation of the asylum system not only undermines the integrity of the process, but also has real consequences for legitimate asylum seekers. By flooding the system with fraudulent or exaggerated claims, these lawyers contribute to backlogs and delays, making it even more difficult for genuine cases to be heard and processed in a timely manner. The longer processing times mean that individuals with legitimate claims are left in limbo, often living in precarious conditions and facing uncertainty about their future. Furthermore, the exploitation of the asylum system erodes public trust and fuels anti-immigrant sentiment. When the public perceives the system as being easily manipulated or abused, it can lead to a hardening of attitudes towards asylum seekers in general, making it even more challenging for those fleeing genuine persecution to find safety and refuge. This climate of mistrust and suspicion harms both genuine asylum seekers and the societies that could benefit from their contributions. Visas are often viewed as the golden ticket to a new life, offering a pathway to education, employment, or reunification with loved ones. However, the temporary nature of many visa categories creates a breeding ground for legal loopholes. with some lawyers advising clients to overstay their visas, hoping to transition to a more permanent status later. This manipulation of the system can have significant consequences for both the individuals involved and the integrity of immigration processes. Consider the case of a student who comes to a new country on a student visa, their sights set on pursuing higher education. However, somewhere along the way their circumstances change, and they find themselves struggling to meet the requirements of their visa, perhaps due to financial hardship or changes in their academic program. In such situations, some lawyers might advise them to overstay their visa, hoping to find another way to remain in the country, such as marrying a citizen or finding an employer willing to sponsor their work visa. While some individuals who overstay their visas may eventually succeed in adjusting their status, many others find themselves living in the shadows, constantly fearful of being apprehended and deported. This precarious existence can limit their access to employment, education, healthcare, and other essential services, trapping them in a cycle of vulnerability and exploitation. They may be forced to work low-wage jobs, often in exploitative conditions, without the legal protections afforded to citizens and legal residents. The prevalence of visa overstays also places a strain on immigration enforcement resources. As authorities grapple with limited resources, the focus often shifts towards apprehending and deporting those who have overstayed their visas, even if they pose no threat to public safety or have established roots in the community. This approach diverts resources away from addressing more pressing issues within the immigration system, such as backlogs in processing asylum claims or investigating cases of human trafficking and exploitation.